So we're looking at 5.4 worksheet, looking at our conversion rates. And so every single rate can be expressed two different ways. So for 1, 2, and 3, we're going to give two conversion rates that can be derived from the equality. So 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. You can write it two different ways. You can say 12 inches compared to 1 foot, or 1 foot compared to 12 inches. Okay, these would be reciprocal rates because you have flipped the fraction and it's a reciprocal. So for number 2, you can say 16 ounces is the same as 1 pound. And if you want to write LB for pounds, it's probably more proper. Or you can say 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. So it's just flipping it. It's the reciprocal. 1 gallon is equal to 4 quarts. Or 4 quarts is equal to 1 gallon. Now where that's important is we're going to be setting up these conversions as multiplication statements, and we're going to be canceling from top to bottom on the fractions like we've been practicing in previous sections. So we need to understand that we can write this either way, and specifically we're going to make sure we set it up so that things cancel out. So for number 4, we're going to cancel out appropriate units, simplify the answer. So if we take a look, we have all these different units. Some of them show up on the top, some of them show up on the bottom, some of them show up in both places. We can cancel from top to bottom in terms of our units. So 2 hours, hours cancels this hours, days cancel, and weeks cancel. So we're trying to figure out how many miles she's going to go in a certain amount of weeks is what this actually is showing you. And based on what I see here, okay, she can ride 4.65 miles in an hour. She's riding 2 hours a day. Basically, this question is asking you how many miles are you going to go in 4 weeks. So once we know she's going 2 hours a day, 4.65 miles per hour, okay, we know there's 7 days a week, so we come up with that conversion rate. And days cancels days. And then we're multiplying it by 4 weeks. Notice that's over 1. This is not a rate. This is just multiplying by 4 weeks. So once we've gotten to here, the days have canceled, the hours have canceled. So we're finding out how many miles she's going in a week. And then once we cancel these out and times by 4, we're figuring out our total number of miles in the 4 weeks. So now that we've canceled everything out, the only thing that's remaining is miles. There's no units on the bottom. And because these are all ones, it's just going to be a 1 on the bottom. So I'm going to leave that blank. And I'm just going to multiply across all the numbers that remain. And this comes out to 260.4 miles. So for the next one, I see centimeters cubed here and here. I see liters here and here. So all of my units on the bottom have cleared out. The only thing left up here is quarts. And when I multiply across here with my numbers, I'm going to get 21,200 over 1,000. And you're going to go ahead and divide that, and that's 21.2 quarts. So we went from cubic centimeters to liters to quarts. Okay, so the conversion from liters to cubic centimeters, 1 liter is 1,000 cubic centimeters. So we did that conversion. Centimeters cubed cancels. This would have given us how many liters there are. And then we turned liters into quarts. 1 liter is equal to 1.06 quarts. The liters canceled. And so we went from cubic centimeters to quarts. So 20,000 cubic centimeters is the same as 21.2 quarts. All right, here we have 75 pages in 2 hours, 5 hours for 1 day. So looking at this kind of from a zoomed out perspective, somebody's reading 75 pages in 2 hours and they're going to put in 5 hours a day. And so we're going to find out how many pages can they read in 3 weeks. That's what this conversion does. So we're starting off here, hours would cancel. You'd find out how many pages in a day, because if she can read 75 pages in 2 hours and reads for 5 hours, how many pages does she get done? The hours would cancel. That would be pages per day. The next part of the conversion goes from days to weeks. So the days would end up canceling, and you'd find out how many in a week. And then right here, the last thing we're going to do is multiply by 3 weeks. So if we know how many pages she reads in a week, we multiply by 3 and we find out how many pages in 3 weeks. So cancel what you can cancel. Hours cancel. So far I know how many pages per day. Days cancel. Now I know how many pages per week, and weeks cancel. And so I'm going to find out just the total number of pages that are going to be read after 3 weeks. So multiplying straight across, 7875 over 2. Divide that out. And it comes out to this. And again, the only thing left is pages. So this is how many pages will be read in 3 weeks. Okay, now taking this work and having to come up with this on our own is what's next. So Andrea picked 2 bushels of cherries. So that's our starting point. Notice that this is not a rate. It's not 2 bushels. She can pick 2 bushels per hour or 2 bushels per minute. This is not a rate. She just picked 2 bushels of cherries. How many pints is this? So we're going to convert this. So since this is not a rate already, we're going to do 2 bushels. You can't compare it to anything. It's not she picked 2 bushels in 1 hour or anything like that. So since this is just a single unit, you're going to put it over 1. And we want to know how many pints did she pick. So 2 bushels, how many pints is that? Now there's ways to figure through this, but specifically for what we're doing, I want you to set up these conversion rates. So they give you the conversion rate here to go from bushels to pecks, and then from pecks to pints. So even if you don't understand what a peck is, it's obviously a certain amount of these bushels, okay, put together. And then if you have a peck, it's equal to a certain number of pints. So we're going to go ahead and convert this in 2 steps here. But it's actually just 1, but we're going to set up 2 conversions. So first, we're going to go ahead and multiply by the conversion rate of 1 bushel equaling 4 pecks. Now you can't set it up in any order you want. You have to set it up so that it cancels what you've got. So since I have bushels up top right here, I want to go ahead and put my bushels on the bottom down here. Now before I even worry about what number it is, I'm just going to set that up. That means the pecks are going on top. Now fill in the numbers, 4 and 1. So once I multiply by this conversion rate, the bushels will cancel and I find out how many pecks I have. Before I go ahead and multiply and cancel anything though, let's go ahead and put the other part of the conversion. We're going to go from pecks to pints. Okay, so I'm going to set up this conversion rate right here. I need to be careful. I'm going to put pecks on the bottom so it cancels here. So 1 peck is on the bottom. Pints is going to go up top. 16 pints compares to 1 peck. So as of right now, pecks cancel and bushels cancel. And so the only unit left is pints. And that answers the question, how many pints do we get? Everything on the bottom is just a 1, so we can just go straight across. My answer will just be in pints. And when I multiply 2 times 4 times 16, it's 128 pints. Number 6, a heart beats 70 times a minute. So we're starting now with a rate. Here we didn't start with a rate. We just started with an amount. This is a rate, 70 times a minute per minute. So let's go ahead and write our starting rate, 70 beats for 1 minute. How many times is this per day? So we need to change minutes to days. Now, if you knew how many minutes were in a day, you could go straight to that conversion right here. Okay, but most people don't know that number off the top of their head, how many minutes there are in a day. But we know how many minutes are in an hour, and so let's start there. We're going to go ahead and multiply that by the conversion rate of minutes to hours. And since minutes is on the bottom, I'm going to put minutes up top. So minutes is going to hours. Now, what's the conversion rate? How many minutes are in an hour? 60 minutes, 1 hour. So at this point, I'm not going to go ahead and run the numbers yet, but I can go ahead and cancel my units to just try and figure out what I've got so far. If I multiplied right now, think about the units. It would give me a number that represents the beats per hour. We want to know how many beats it is per day. So we have to go from hours now to days. So my next conversion rate has to compare hours to days. There's 24 hours in a day. When I set this up, I need hours up top so that it cancels here and days on the bottom. So how many hours in a day? What's the conversion rate? 24 hours in 1 day. Hours cancel. Again, before I even worry about the numbers, I'm going to look at what's going to be my units here. What's going to be my rate? If I go ahead and run the numbers, it's going to be beats per day, and that's what we want. So now I know I've got it set up exactly how I want. I'm going to have beats on top, and I'm going to have days on the bottom, beats per day. 1 across the bottom. On the top, when I multiply all of that across, I get 100,800, and that's beats per day. Now, if you got something other than a 1 here on the bottom, you would want to divide to get it all the way down to how many beats per day, because it would be how many beats in 3 days or how many beats in 4, and they want per day, that means 1. But since this came out to 1 day, we're all set. This is my final answer. Okay, number 7. A snail moves at a rate, so they're giving us a rate of 3 centimeters per minute, so 1 minute. So that's our starting rate. Now, what is the snail's speed in millimeters per hour? So if you look, neither one of those units, millimeters or hours, is what we started with. So we have to do a couple conversions to get us all the way to that, and they're separate. You do them all at once, but you have to write them as separate conversion rates. So first of all, we're going from minutes to hours. So I'm going to start there. If you want to start with the centimeters and millimeters, you can. It doesn't matter which order you put these in. But I'm going to go from minutes to hours, and I'm going to throw minutes up top when I set up my conversion from minutes to hours so that these will cancel. Now, what is the conversion from minutes to hours? It's not given to you because it's assumed you know 60 minutes for 1 hour. If you're more comfortable running this right now, what this will tell you is how many centimeters per hour, because we've canceled this out, and then you can translate that after the fact to millimeters. But I'm going to go ahead and always just do it all at once. Put up my other conversion here. I've got to get centimeters into millimeters. So when I set up this conversion rate, 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. I've got to put the centimeters at the bottom so they cancel with this. So my 1 centimeter goes up top, and my 10 millimeters goes at the, did I say the top? 1 centimeter is at the bottom, 10 millimeters at the top. So now my centimeters will cancel. And before you worry about the numbers, make sure that this is going to come out to the correct rate. What's up top? Just millimeters. What's on the bottom? Hours. So this will give me the millimeters per hour, and that's exactly what we want. So we're going to get 1 on the bottom, which is perfect. So we know once we get here, we're done. We don't have to do any more math. So 3 times 60 times 10 is going to get me 1,800 millimeters per hour. Number 8. Kim earns $7.50 for each lawn she mows. At first, that may not sound like a rate, but it is. $7.50 per lawn. So let's go ahead and write that out. 1 lawn. If she cuts 6 lawns each week, so that's our next rate, 6 lawns each week. So let's go ahead and put that in here. We're going to put lawns up top, so it cancels here. So 6 lawns each week, 6 for 1. So at this point, if we went ahead and multiplied, because these cancel, we're finding out how much money in a week, but they're asking how much money would she make after 7 weeks. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to multiply this now by 7 weeks. Now that's not a rate, just 7 weeks. So this is over 1. It's not 7 weeks per something, it's just 7 weeks. What's going to end up happening is the weeks cancel. And so our answer is not going to be a rate. It's not going to be millimeters per hour. It's not going to be something over something. All of these canceled except the dollar amount. So my final answer is just going to be a dollar amount. And that's what we want, because the question says how much money would she have earned. It's not asking for a rate. It's not asking how much money per hour she makes, how much money per week, per month, per year. Okay, it's just how much money has she earned. So all we have to do now is multiply. We're going to get a 1 on the bottom, so that doesn't really matter. Multiply 750 times 6 times 7, and it's $315. Okay, number 9. Leo drinks approximately 2 liters of water each day. That's a rate. 2 liters, 1 day. How many gallons of water is this every week? So we have to go to gallons per week. That's our final answer. It has to be gallons over weeks. So we got to get from liters to gallons, and they give you the conversion rate right here. And we have to go from days to weeks. So you can do them in any order you want. Let's go ahead and translate liters to gallons. So when I set up that conversion here, I need liters on the bottom. So that means gallons is on top. And you can see when those liters cancel, that leaves us gallons up top. That's what we want. So put the numbers in. 0.26 gallons is 1 liter. And I need days to cancel out and leave weeks. So I'm going to go ahead and put days up top, weeks on the bottom. So liters will cancel, leaving me gallons. Days will cancel, leaving me weeks. What's the conversion rate? There's 7 days in 1 week. So liters cancel, days cancel. I'm now going to be given the number in gallons per week. All ones on the bottom, so this rate is done when I get to the end here. It's how much for 1 week. That's what we want. So 2 times 0.26 times 7 comes out to 3.64 gallons per week. Okay, number 10. During a storm, 2 inches of rain fell in 15 minutes. 2 inches, 15 minutes. That's our rate we started with. At this rate, how many feet? So we have to go from inches to feet would fall per hour. We got to go from minutes to hours. So that's 2 separate conversions. Sometimes it takes even more than 2 to get from minutes to hours if we don't know how to go directly between the 2. But we know how many minutes are in an hour, so that's just straight into it. We know how many inches are in a foot, so that goes straight into it as well. So it doesn't matter which one you start with. If you want to start with going inches to feet, put inches on the bottom so it cancels, feet on top. So we know there's 12 inches in 1 foot. And then my next conversion, we have to go from minutes to hours. I got to put minutes up top so it cancels, hours on the bottom. So how many minutes in an hour? 60 minutes, 1 hour. Before you worry about running the numbers, cancel your units and make sure it's going to produce what you want. It's going to give me feet per hour. That's what we want, so we're good. So now you can go ahead and run the numbers here. So we're going to get 120 up top from the 2 times the 60. And then 15 times 12, it's going to give me 180. So there's going to be 120 feet in 180 hours. Now that's not the rate we want. We want feet per hour. When you see per hour, that's for 1 hour. So we need to go ahead and divide the 120 by the 180. When you do that, you're going to get this 0.6 repeated. So if you want to leave it as 0.6 repeated, you would say 0.6 repeated feet per hour. And you can write the per like that. Now that's fine, but we should know what this is first of all. And writing a repeated decimal as an answer, we don't really deal with repeated decimals too much in real life. Okay, so I'd rather this be a fraction. We need to know 0.6 repeated is 2/3. The other thing you could do is you could use your fraction button and put the 120 over the 180, and that'll give you the 2/3. But we need to know 0.6 repeated is 2/3. So I'd prefer the answer of 2/3 of a foot per hour. All right, last one, number 11. Convert 55 miles per hour. 55 miles per hour means 1 hour. We got to get it into feet per second. Feet per second. So let's deal with time first. We got to go from hours to seconds. You may not know this direct conversion from hours to seconds. So we can go from hours to minutes and then from minutes to seconds. So let's start there. Hours has to go on top. What conversion do you know? Well, I know hours to minutes. 1 hour is 60 minutes. At this point, if I cancel, I find out how many miles per minute. We need seconds, and I know we need to go to feet, but we'll get there. But right now, I'm finding out the something amount per minute. So now I'm going to do my conversion from minutes to seconds. Notice I put minutes up top, so they're going to cancel. So I know there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. So now my minutes cancel. If I went ahead and just multiplied right now, I would find out how many miles per second we've got. We need feet per second. So now we need to convert miles into feet, and this is one that you're going to want to just memorize. There's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. That's the conversion. That was in your notes. So I need to put miles on the bottom, so it cancels with this miles. And that means feet is on top. So fill in the conversion. 5,280 feet is 1 mile. Miles cancel. If I were to multiply across right now, looking at what's left over with my units, after everything cancels, the only thing left on top is feet. The only thing left on the bottom is seconds. So this will give me how many feet per second, and that's what I want. So now I'm free to go ahead and multiply the numbers. We end up with this big number and this big number. So I'm not done. This is how many feet for 3,600 seconds. Feet per second means how many feet for 1 second. So you need to go ahead and divide these. I get 80.6 repeated. And that's feet per second. Again, I don't love the repeated decimal. It's technically correct, but we're not going to see that in real life very often. And so this is 80, and we know 0.6 repeated is 2/3. So 80 and 2/3 feet per second.